It's Monday, June 24th, and this is the Climate One audio newsletter. I'm producer and editor Austin Colon.
And I'm producer and production manager Megan Basilia.
So first, have you listened to our most recent episode, Climate Policy Wonk turned indie pop star AJR's Adam Met? Adam Met is a behind-the-scenes climate policy powerhouse, and he also happens to be the bass player in the award-winning indie pop group AJR. During Met's time away from touring the world and rocking the bass in front of thousands of fans, he and the team at Planet Reimagine, which is the thought and action tank that he founded, set out on a cross-country listening tour in order to better understand how to create bipartisan climate policy. What they came up with is a plan to help renewable energy projects get built on land that has already been approved for fossil fuel projects, and that cuts down on the time and red tape required to get the projects up and running. Met also works with organizations like Reverb to help decarbonize the concert experience. You can listen to the episode at climateone.org or wherever you get your pods.
Last call for tickets. Join us for a live conversation about climate heroes in your neighborhood. There are climate heroes among us everywhere, but many go unnoticed in the thrum of everyday life. Matt Scott, Director of Storytelling and Engagement at Project Drawdown, has been shining a light on the work of such people in cities across the country in his documentary short series, Drawdown's Neighborhood. In Atlanta, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, and more, Scott lifts up underrepresented voices of those engaging in climate issues directly in their communities. And that diversity of voices, of women, Black people, Indigenous people, and people of color is itself the point. The San Francisco Bay Area is the latest region in Drawdown's Neighborhood series, with full episodes premiering in August 2024. Join us for this unique Climate One event as Scott hosts a live conversation with local climate heroes Ashia Ajani and Grace Anderson. That's Tuesday, June 25th at 6 p.m. at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco.
And here's what we're reading this week. A push to designate extreme heat as FEMA disaster. From the Midwest to the East Coast, about 150 million people are sweltering in a heat wave, with at least half of them under some form of heat advisory. The Pacific Northwest, historically known for foggy summers, also experienced record-breaking heat in 2021, when the term heat dome began gaining prominence. According to research from Columbia University, these episodes aren't one-offs. Summers are indeed getting hotter, with dangerous consequences for women and girls, low-income households, migrants, and other vulnerable populations. Heat also uniquely impacts people who work in heat-prone conditions, such as outdoor farms, restaurant kitchens, and poorly ventilated warehouses. The increasing dangers are prompting labor, health, and environmental justice advocates to have FEMA designate extreme heat as a major disaster, the way it does with tornadoes, hurricanes, wildfires, and earthquakes. The policy change would unlock federal funds to help state and local governments straining to pay for emergency responses, many of which have been growing in scope due to climate change.
Plus, here are the rest of the headlines we're keeping our eye on. From the New York Times, White House announces strategy to keep edible food out of landfills. From The Guardian, most people in petrostates want a quick switch to clean energy, UN poll finds. From The Atlantic, EVs could last nearly forever if car companies would let them. From AP News, U.S. acknowledges Northwest dams have devastated the region's native tribes.
Let's connect the dots. Juneteenth, observed on June 19th, is a federal holiday in the United States that commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. It marks a joyful celebration of freedom and resilience and serves as an important reminder of our ongoing pursuit of climate justice and equity. In our episode, Dismantling White Supremacy to Address the Climate Crisis, we spoke with Leah Thomas and Hop Hopkins about the pernicious roots of racism in the climate crisis and explored the possibilities in building a just and equitable world through an intersectionalist approach. The conversation took place more than 2 years ago, but the wisdom from our guests still holds true today and is well worth a re-listen. You can find the episode on climateone.org or in your podcast player of choice.
And one more thing. Did you notice a new voice on the latest episode of Climate One? That'd be Alana Casanova Burgess, who's guest hosting the program this summer while Greg Dalton is out on sabbatical. Alana is an award-winning audio journalist and host of the podcast La Brega, a bilingual podcast dedicated to telling the stories of the Puerto Rican experience. Our team has lots of fun projects in the works, including this week's return of audio engineer, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Austin Colon to the mic. Whether you're a regular listener or tuning in for the first time, subscribe to Climate One on your pod player of choice to ensure you don't miss a thing this summer. That's it for this week's Climate One newsletter.
Thanks for listening.